Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for this Solve It session webinar on the water and wastewater industries. My name is Rachel, joining you today from Belzona's marketing department.
I'm James, joining you from Belzona's engineering department.
And in today's webinar, we'll be looking at some of the common problems which plague the industry and how Belzona's polymeric materials can be used to repair and protect them. We'll also be examining case studies where these solutions have been used around the world. Then, in about 25 minutes or so, we'll have a Q&A session with Belzona's Technical Director, David Blackwell. So if you have any questions, please do save them for the end for David to answer with James. So, the water and wastewater industries are expansive with hundreds of areas which can experience damage. However, because we don't have time to examine everything, we've split this webinar into sections by application areas. So that's pumps, pipework, tanks, and clarifiers. These are some of the most common places within the industry where polymeric materials can be used to repair, protect, and improve assets. So I'll now pass over to James to look at pumps and pipework in more detail.
Okay, so starting with pumps within the industry, these can suffer from damage from many mechanisms, the primary two being deterioration due to corrosion and similarly for erosion. There is also impact, chemical attack, and many others. So we're going to look at some of these mechanisms in a bit more detail and the Belzona solutions for them. So pumps and pipework are under the constant threat of erosion and wear as they handle large quantities of liquid throughout their working day. Entrained solids can damage pump elements, casings can be eroded by constant water flow and corroded by chemicals, sewage, other compounds and materials involved in the treatment process. Long lead times from manufacturers often mean that an out-of-service pump can cause lengthy delays and shutdowns, and outright replacement is often very expensive. When out on site, we need to look at the evidence which suggests the cause of the damage, so that we can identify the root of the problem. So starting with the photo you can see on the slide, we can see damage from entrainment or solids suspended within the flow. If we compound this with corrosion caused by aggressive substances within the flow or the sewage, then we can see erosion corrosion, where the corroded steel is eroded away, therefore exposing fresh steel, which is then exposed to corrosion, and the process then repeats. So we then start to see severe metal loss and ultimately a loss of efficiency and increased operating costs. To take this sewage pump here, we can see it's very heavily corroded and damaged. Most asset owners would probably discard this pump and replace it with a new one. However, it is possible to restore these pumps to bring the efficiency back up for the long term using epoxy solutions. So this can be done. This can be a much more cost-effective solution. In fact, based on previous experience, the cost of an epoxy solution is around 20% the cost of replacing a pump outright. So in order to restore this pump, we first begin with grit blasting. This serves two purposes. Firstly, it removes all the loose, friable rust and corrosion metal, and it cleans the surface. Secondly, it provides a profile or a key for the epoxy to adhere to. Next, we use a paste grade epoxy to rebuild the profile of the pump internals and components. And then finally, we apply a protective ceramic coating to provide long-term protection against erosion and corrosion. Another form of damage we might see is cavitation, the evidence of which you can see on the screen. So the typical signs of cavitation occurring is localized pitting caused by the collapsing of steam bubbles near the surface. This most often occurs in areas of low water pressure, particularly the trailing edges of impellers, where the pressure is low enough to allow the water to boil. So given the impact nature of cavitation, this calls for a solution with high toughness, as a hard ceramic coating will be too brittle and lack the toughness to withstand the energy of the impact. Therefore, Belzona has developed an elastomeric system to protect equipment against cavitation. This polyurethane can withstand the deformation caused by the cavitation microjetting. So Rachel's now going to take you through an example of some work done on a pump in the field.
So to introduce our first case study, this took place in Montreal, Canada, where this pump had experienced severe erosion corrosion. It had been in operation for several years and was seriously deteriorated. Therefore, the team at the plant thought it was scrap and wanted to replace it. However, when they visited the pump shop, they were told about Belzona solutions and how polymeric materials could be used to restore the pump. After consultation, the chosen materials were Belzona 1111 to rebuild the pump and Belzona 5812DW to coat it. Beyond the properties of these materials, which fully restored the pumps as you can see, there were many reasons why the pump shop recommended Belzona. For one, the Belzona brand. We've been around since 1952 and in that time have built up a reputation for quality. As well as this, the solutions had NSF 61 approval, which was necessary for the plant. But rather than just tell you about how easy it is to use Belzona linings, here we have a video showing you how to protect pumps with an erosion-corrosion resistant coating. Just to note though, the volume of the video can be quite loud, so I'd recommend turning down your volume now and then up again afterwards.
Okay, I hope you all saw that video there. So we're now going to move on to pipework solutions.
Just remember to turn up your volume again now.
Yeah, there we go. So we're now going to move on to the pipework section of the webinar. So pipes suffer from damage both on the external and the internal diameters from both erosion and corrosion. So externally, we may see some environmental attack, which calls for a solution where we form a barrier between the pipe and the environment. Internally, we may see damage from erosion and chemical attack, possibly at high temperatures as well. So these forms of attack both lead to a loss of wall thickness. This may eventually lead to a live leak situation, which often causes the asset to be taken offline whilst it's repaired or replaced altogether. So the downtime of this can be very costly, therefore an epoxy solution can be suitable to avoiding these costs. So let's take a look at some examples in the field.
This case study was at a pumping station in Tarragona in Spain, where these water pipes were suffering from significant external corrosion, and this was due to leaks occurring through the sealing systems between the pipes and the walls of the tank. To create a long-term repair for these issues, Belzona Super Wrap 2 was chosen to wrap the pipes, Then, on top, Belzona 5811 was applied to provide a smoother finish to the repair. As well as this, the concrete tank was repaired with the mortar repair material Belzona 4131, and to complete the application, the pipes were coated in a blue polyurethane material, as this was the specification of the station. And I see we have the project manager of the SuperWrap 2 application, so hopefully it's all performing well, because SuperWrap 2 is an ISO ASME compliant wrap solution, meaning that it has outstanding properties and will actually restore the mechanical strength of the pipes for 20 years or more. This application was able to also take place whilst the pipe was online without any disruption to the water supply, and consequently more than 30 other smaller compliant repairs were carried out around the same facility, all using Belzona SuperWrap 2.
So as you can see on the slide, we can use epoxy solutions to reinstate pipe integrity and reinforce the asset using patch repairs or even full circumferential wraps. So in order to protect against this happening in the future, we can carry out an internal coating of the pipe to protect against erosion and corrosion. So depending on the access, this can be done by hand or for smaller diameters by spin spray methods. So Belzona coatings can provide protection against erosion, corrosion and chemical attack, even at elevated temperatures for the long term.
Next, we're going to be looking at tanks, including clarifiers, within the industry. We've split this into 3 areas which typically experience damage. So that's tank exteriors, tank interiors, and concrete. And James will now talk you through each of these areas.
So sealant failure, adverse weather conditions, or condensation can lead to corrosion of the tank base, tank failure, and ultimately leakage. So tank roofs are also susceptible to rapid deterioration caused by the corrosive vapor of the stored media. Tank walls can also suffer from corrosion and leaking welds. To combat tank-based problems, Belzona formulated a tank-based sealing system back in the 1990s, which is liquid applied in conjunction with a reinforcing sheet. As a flexible membrane, the system possesses a unique breathable feature, so liquid cannot permeate the membrane. However, the vapor escapes freely, allowing the underside of the tank to dry out. Roof and wall damage can be safely repaired in situ and online, eliminating the need to drain the tank and therefore reducing downtime.
This application took place at a water treatment plant in the south of England. The tank was suffering from corrosion issues around the seam areas, and in two places the corrosion had resulted in holes in the tank, meaning raw sewage was leaking out. Whilst deciding what to do with the tank, whether to repair or replace it, the treatment plant asked Belzona to provide a solution to keep the tank usable for the time being. Therefore, temporary patches were installed using a Belzona system. Fast curing materials were necessary, as all work had to be carried out in just one day, as the tank had to be put back into service at the end of the shift. Therefore, a surface-tolerant material was used to patch over the holes, before Belzona 1161 was used to bond the patches. After the application, the customer was very happy with the repairs, and instead of building a new tank, decided to line the inside of this current one with a Belzona system.
So steel vessels, ranging from drum thickeners to digester tanks, they're all subjected to a range of harsh conditions by the water and wastewater industry. So MIC, or microbially induced corrosion, can occur to the substrate, whilst the chlorides and sulfates present in wastewater sludge can similarly corrode steel vessel interiors. These are just examples of the many forms of attack. So concrete tank interiors can be eroded by submersion in water or corroded by chloride chemical attack, leading to cracks and leaks, resulting in compromised water quality and plant efficiency. Belzona coatings are designed to protect tank and vessel interiors by providing a chemical-resistant internal lining. Belzona 4311 is designed to protect secondary containment areas and also vessels and tanks against chemical attack, whilst Belzona 5811 can protect surfaces subjected to constant or regular immersion in aggressive liquid environments. For the water and wastewater industry, Belzona 5811 DW2 and Belzona 5812 DW are approved for contact with potable water. Belzona solutions and coatings are easy to apply and cure at ambient temperatures, allowing for a rapid application and a minimum of downtime. Providing a long-lasting, effective solution, they're an excellent alternative to lengthy replacements or repair works. Another benefit of using a coating system is that it allows you to use a coated mild steel tank as opposed to the relatively high outlay for an all stainless steel construction, thereby keeping your costs down.
And now we're going to show you another video on how to protect a potable water storage tank using our materials. Again, the volume might be quite high, so remember to turn it down now and up again afterwards. So both of the videos you've seen today are available on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Belzona TV. We have hundreds of videos on there, and they're a great visual way to see how to apply Belzona and learn more about our materials.
Okay, so the wastewater treatment process and related activities expose concrete to a variety of damage mechanisms, including erosion, corrosion, physical damage, chemical and microbiological attack, carbonation, and freeze-thaw cycles. So high relative humidity, the need for cold temperature curing, and the requirement to keep operations running smoothly make repairs increasingly difficult. Belzona concrete repair composites are designed to rebuild and repair damaged concrete surfaces, restoring the original profile with a simple procedure that minimizes downtime and can be completed without hot work. Belzona concrete repair systems will cure in a matter of hours, achieving full mechanical hardness soon after, as opposed to concrete, which usually takes around 28 days to cure. Specialist coating solutions can then be applied to improve resistance to the common forms of wear and corrosion, extending service life with a minimum of financial outlay.
At this water treatment plant in Scotland, 2 clarifiers were in need of repairs. The running track on top of the wall had been experiencing impact and abrasion damage due to the arm, and the substrate was seriously damaged. However, there was only a limited shutdown window to make any repairs. The chosen material was Belzona 4131. This had 2 major benefits over a traditional concrete repair. Firstly, by using a Belzona material, a repair could be completed in a fraction of the time it would have taken to knock down the walls and rebuild them. As well as this, the material's chemical and impact resistance prevents the original problem from recurring.
The reason why it prevents the problem from reoccurring is that the Belzona concrete epoxies are non-porous. Therefore, you eliminate water ingress, and therefore freeze-thaw cycles cannot damage the material. So as a conclusion to this webinar, just to run through some points about the Belzona materials, asking ourselves why Belzona. So the materials are all cold applied, there's no hot work involved. They're solvent free, 100% solid, so there is no shrinkage. Hand applied with very simple tools. Fast curing for a very minimal downtime on the equipment. High adhesion and resistant to a range of chemicals. We've tested, again, the chemical resistance against many different compounds and materials. And all mechanical testing has been carried out on the adhesion. These are a long-term solution, definitely not a quick fix. And most importantly, they will protect your equipment and assets from corrosion and slow down erosion damage. So we're now going to have the Q&A session. So if you have any questions, could you please type them into the chat window? We'll be able to see them on our screen here, and then we'll answer them out loud.
We hope we've given you a good overview of some of Belzona's solutions for the water and wastewater industries. If you want any more information after our Q&A session, you can check out our website. There, you'll find links to your local Belzona distributor. And as you can see by the map, we are well represented all around the world. But regardless of whether there's a little flag in your country, there'll always be someone dedicated to helping your region with our materials.